Hi, everyone. This is Mary Beth with Day One Life Coaching, and I have a fascinating guest with me today. Her name is Jackie Walton. And what we're going to talk about today is her story of growing up in a cult from age 3 till age 28. And this is not a subject I know a lot about, so I'm really excited to learn about the programming and everything that she experienced as a young child, all the way up through young adulthood, really. So, Jackie, thanks for being here to tell your story today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And I also want to tell people who you are. For anyone who doesn't get a chance to stay tuned to the end, this subject is going to be about the cult. But Jackie is founder of Tea with Purpose. She has created all of these teas that replace coffee and help restore your body into balance. And that's kind of how I met Jackie. I've known her for quite a few years. I don't know how many, 8 maybe, if I'm going to grab a number out of there. Yeah, maybe. But we both are holistic coaches, mind, body, spirit, all about restoring balance in your body. And these teas are amazing. I bought every single one of the bags of teas that she sells, and they're wonderful. She also is a health and fitness coach. And when I met her, she was you were the Bengals nutritionist for about 3 years.
I was their health and fitness coach under my brother, Terry Bryan Fitness. But I worked with the girls for over 3 years. Yes. But I'm no longer a health and fitness coach.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you are to me. When I have questions, I still ask you stuff now and then.
Oh, you're sweet.
And hi, Terry. We should say hi to Terry. Let's give him a shout out. Okay. So anyway, so let's start at the beginning. Like tell me a little bit about the first thing you remember.
About the cult?
About the cult, yeah.
Oh, okay. So the first thing I need to say is that the cult isn't the kind of cult. We weren't doing there weren't any sacrificing or, any rituals or anything like that. It was just pretty straight, cut and dry. It was a Sabbath keeping church. But
what does that mean?
That means we kept the Sabbath. So from sundown on Friday night, you prayed and did your Bible study, and then you went to church on Saturday, and then you weren't allowed to turn the TV on or anything like that until sunset on Saturday night.
Okay.
So no football games, no, activities like that. But, it's interesting though. The one thing I miss about the church, there's several things I in every bad thing comes good. And in that situation, the Sabbath was really a great thing because it caused us to stop. And as a family, we would have family dinners together every Friday night. And then we saw, the family that was in the church. So, but it actually was kind of like a health law where you stop once a week and just slow down.
Introspective.
So it's kind of a spiritual law. But so anyway, it was that kind of a cult, but mostly in the sense of programming our mind. So it was a constant state of fear. Were we going to make it to the kingdom or not make it to the kingdom and burn in the lake of fire forever? That type of thing.
Sounds terrifying.
Well, it was, because
especially as a young child, I would imagine.
Yes, but I mean that's kind of true in lots of religions. So,
that's true.
But so anyway, so that's the kind of cult that it was. Nothing traumatic, but it did have some psychological impact on my thinking for sure.
So let me ask you this: was it made out when you say the fear? Was it like that this cult was the only one that had the answers and everybody else was in trouble and you had to go save them?
Yeah, well,
that's how a lot of religions are. They think they're the only ones and everyone else needs to be saved and know the truth. But every religion believes that. So it's interesting.
Right. But we were the 144,000.
You were, okay. Yeah.
We're a part of that 144,000. And the church didn't teach us exactly, but I remember being 10 years old and hearing, the adults talking about all this scary stuff. And I remember when the UN, and but I was like 9 years old, I think, when they were putting the UN together, United Nations together. And, that was like a big deal. And, we were going to get on planes. We're going to just leave everything behind and get on planes. And we were going to go to these caves in Petra. And we were going to be there until, everything was over. And,
so are you saying that you thought it was the end of the world? Is that why? Like, because
my whole life, I thought it was the end of the world.
Every incident, which there's always incidents, right? And every
now I have to say, like, what we're going through right now.
You're like, maybe it is now. This time it's for real.
But anyway, I mean, it's going to be interesting.
A time when we've ever been without war, though, going on somewhere,
Right. Now, one of the things about the times that we're in right now is it brought me back to the cult. And because we were given literature to listen to. We had to watch. So we read everything from the church, all their books. It was called The Good News. So we had a magazine that came out once a month. So we would read that on our Friday nights and Saturday nights. And then we would go to church. And then, of course, we'd hear the same information. But we were trained, our minds were trained to be inclusive. So there wasn't any open, it was like, this is the church's way of thinking, and you don't think outside of that. So you
were trained to not be critical thinkers. You were trained, this is the way. And if you think, and don't ask questions that make sense, because refer to the book.
Right. And, we did read the Bible. So I did come back out of that with a good base of the Bible. But it was, today, if you're listening to CNN and mainstream media, it's the same thing. You're getting programmed a narrative that, may or may not be true.
Right.
So, my mind is open that there are other possibilities out there.
Right.
Now.
Absolutely. That's a great conversation to have, is about, mainstream media, and just like, because if you watch everything's very tribal right now. You're either in one tribe or another. It's like split down the middle. And it just depends on what channel you have on. You get a whole completely different narrative, and they can't both be true. So it's very important to remember to think, of course, if you're programming yourself if you only tune into one thing. So I always like to watch, I don't watch tons of news. I'm going to be honest, you guys, because it's depressing and devastating, to watch. But, when I do, I hear news stories, or I always make sure that I read both sides, so that, I can get all angles, all views, and then come to a decision based on being informed, and there's probably truth on both sides, but, let's find the truth that's probably somewhere in the middle. So
you mentioned a couple things. So everything that we're being thrown at on a daily basis, fear. It's even coming from it's both sides are throwing this fear. Like, it's almost as if we are almost getting addicted to this fear that's going on all the time now. There's a word,
drama.
I can't get the word, but like, it's just a fear porn. That's it.
Fear porn, absolutely. People get addicted to all of that stuff. It's all the chemicals in your brain going crazy right now, and
it becomes a state of being.
We're
in the state of beings right now. And also the thinking, like this, our food is turning our food, our water, our air. We're being poisoned on a daily basis. So that's another thing that, like, coming out of a cult,
Yeah.
you look at everything. So people are asleep. There's a lot of people asleep, and because it takes a lot to wake up and to be able to look at both sides of a scenario.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like regarding our food, you being I know I can have this conversation with you with your background. Yeah. Our soil is depleted of a lot of nutrients. There's,
Yes.
Even if you're getting everything organic, which I do, I buy all organic, but I'm aware that we need to supplement anyway, because there's no food in our food, especially if you're getting, if you're getting the stuff with the chemicals, of course, we know that that's not going to have a good effect on your brain. But, with the way the soil is right now, we are really depleted. And so you got to supplement, with all kinds of things these days. I mean, your teas are, not to bring them up again.
Well, actually though, with the tea, one of the things there's a couple of reasons why I started making the tea, but one of them is that, I couldn't afford to buy a laundry list of supplements.
Yeah.
And I knew stinging nettles, if we had a natural disaster, I could keep myself alive on stinging nettles alone. Yeah. I could keep myself alive by doing white pine needle tea. Yeah. Like I was, like from a survival, and I'm like, well, why is that not in my daily diet? So basically so as the digestion changes and, we've have all the gut issues and things, a tea that's liquid, that's bioavailable to every cell in our body, like that just makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And I love that you were passionate enough to actually take the action and create this, because, I definitely enjoy it. And I did a video earlier on, drinking coffee all day because, I work from home, and so many people wrote to me about that. Like, oh my God, that's why I'm gaining weight, and it's also not good to drink coffee all day. So you had one of them's called coffee tea, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Coffee tea. That saves me, because instead of putting something that, I don't think coffee's bad for you, but
I love coffee more than anything.
Moderation, right? Moderation. Yes. And I wasn't moderating. So now I switch, I have my coffee in the morning because
organic coffee.
Yeah, I have to. It's my last vice. I got to keep it.
Yep.
Right. And it's organic coffee. And then, during the day, this satisfies me. I can even trick my mind into thinking I'm drinking coffee. Like, what's the difference?
It gives you that experience, just not the smell. So just about that coffee real quick is, it has burdock root and chicory root in it. And, those are what our great great grandparents used, when they couldn't get a hold of coffee. They would go in their back, they would go and just dig up those roots and that was their coffee. But, cleans the blood, alkalize the body, does all these wonderful things. And then I added to that original Great Depression formula, I added ashwagandha and rhodiola. Yes. Both nourish and support the adrenal glands instead of tearing them down. So I always think of like coffee is that, especially during menopause, you do not want to be drinking a ton of coffee, because that's a time when you need your adrenal glands the most. Yeah. So, and that's your fight or flight stress hormone, just so if people don't know. But, so what I'm doing on a daily basis, I'm like supporting my cortisol levels and building myself up. So I think of it like a horse, like, you can make a horse go, keep, not stop for water, not stop for food. And you can literally run a horse into the ground and kill it by not letting it stop and rest. And the horse will keep going. So I always kind of thought of that as my adrenal glands. Like, what do I need to rest and repair and nourish my adrenal glands? Because, for me, in life, I like to be in control of my emotions. Yeah. I like to be.
You do?
Yeah, I love it.
How about that?
And, I like to feel good. I don't like to feel strung out all the time. So I'm addicted to feeling good, and drinking coffee all the time just wasn't doing it. And then menopause hit. and I had to,
Yeah. And I'm
you
not
know.
there yet, but and we're totally off topic of the cult, but we'll get back to it, guys.
Okay.
But one of the things I did want to mention is that, talking about, I'm addicted to feeling good too. And,
Mm,
that's why I quit drinking, nothing
yep.
bad happened. I just wasn't feeling like my best self. And one of our first conversations that we bonded over is I wasn't able to sleep. I was up. I thought had insomnia, and it turned out it was alcohol. So, and you had mentioned something, you were my guide. Unknowingly, you sent me a direct message saying, hey, do you think it's your hormones? If you're up like that at night, and I was like thinking, oh no, I don't think so. I'm not there yet, for menopause or whatever. I mean, I'm 47 now, but this was a long time ago when we were talking, but you guided me to find out that yes, my hormones were imbalanced, but not because of my age, because alcohol imbalances you, and your teas, balance you. So, it's wonderful that you came up with that idea, because no matter what reason, like you talked about cortisol levels, if your cortisol levels are too high, you guys, you can't lose weight no matter what you do, number one, because that's the stress hormone. So yeah, that I love that you created something that's easy to drink and we can replace it, because drinking coffee all day, is not good. It's great to have it in moderation, but now there's something beneficial that you can drink all day.
So like at nighttime, because these are sweet teas. So
yes.
I did make them sweet because I don't like not having sweet teas. But anyway, because I sweeten them with whole leaf stevia. But like if women can manage their sleep through drinking the menopause tea at night instead of drinking the half a bottle of wine, it would serve them much better.
Well, yeah, because the wine will destroy your sleep quality. Even if it's one glass, it does. It just, you don't sleep the same. And
the menopause
as soon as that effect wears off, you're up at 3 a.m., 5 hours after your last drink of alcohol, guys. Like if you're wondering why you wake up it's because your body creates stimulants to counteract that depressant of alcohol, and you're up at 2, 3 a.m. Why am I awake? That's why you're awake. And the hormone imbalance too.
But I wasn't a drinker, and I struggled so my menopause tea literally has changed my life.
Yeah.
Because it got me sleeping again.
Menopause tea.
But anyway, so that's
I'm using it as a preventative, like to prolong that, because because you can do that, right? Or am I wrong?
Well, yeah, I mean, you
a little bit.
What women need to understand is that you don't want to crash into menopause. Now we're really off the cult subject, but
oh my gosh, we're talking about menopause now. What happened? Hey, well, welcome to Candid Conversation.
You really you don't want to crash into menopause. You want your body to be prepared. You want your mind, because the insecurities that you had at 12 years old, those insecurities begin to come back.
Don't tell me this.
Well, but the thing about it is like in hot flashes and all that, like I never experienced hardly anything. The only thing I experienced was sleep and some weight gain. So, but if you're exercising, if you're lifting weights, if you have a clean diet, you clean up your home from toxins and you're getting those chemicals out, you're going to be fine. And let me tell you, it is a beautiful, beautiful time in a woman's life.
Okay.
So absolutely, like lean into it, look forward to it, but prepare for it, because as this goes away, you better have this there.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about that with my friends all the time about there's some women who their entire life, their identity has been based on their looks, their youth. And that's a problem. That's a problem, you guys, because you gotta come up with another thing to grasp onto, work on your mind, work on your soul, work on your spirit and feeling joyful around other things other than outside of vanity. I
really
mean,
finding peace and joy within in yourself.
inner peace,
That
absolutely.
inner peace, and finding, like having those roots that are grown deep into the earth, metaphor,
Yes. Yeah.
but yes.
Absolutely. So, let's see if we can make this go back in with the cult somehow. So, your tease would help somebody who has fear-based programming, but so, yeah, so let's get back to the cult thing for people who turned in for that reason.
Okay.
Hello, men, all about menopause. Oh, sorry. I have a cat here who's just yelled at us. So he wants us off the menopause subject as well. He's a dude. So basically, you said that you were in it from 3 till 28. So I'm going to assume literally, did you have this tunnel vision? Like, everybody else is wrong and I'm on the right path and everyone's on the wrong path. And did you try to ever save friends who weren't a member?
No, that wasn't part of it. It wasn't
okay, because it is part of a lot of religions.
Right. Yeah. So it wasn't like that at all. You guys were on your own. We just had the truth, and that was,
right. Sorry about your luck.
Sorry about your luck. Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if you came along with us, but so I do have a story though of someone invited me to go to a Jehovah's Witness church. I don't know if I can say that or not.
Absolutely. One of my best friends was raised Jehovah's Witness, so I know a lot about it.
Okay. So they invited me because, they bring people in. And so I was, I'm like, okay, I'll go. And I left traumatized. I was driving and I was like, oh my God, I'm out. Okay. It like took me back. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm out of jail. I'm not in jail. I'm not jail, like jail, but like,
yeah,
jail, like in the church under bondage. I mean, my brain, it flipped a switch in my brain, and the relief I felt driving home, like, oh my God, thank you that I'm out of that I'm not in that. Like, the bondage is just bondage.
Was this while you were in the other call that you
went? I was out of there. I was in my 40s. I was probably 41.
So was it like a PTSD thing?
It was PTSD thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
Body. I had no idea it was there, but I mean, I remember I got on the phone to call my best friend, and I was like, okay. I mean, I can't even explain to you that feeling of relief out that I wasn't in bondage. Like, I was able to think freely. I was able to, I mean, the things I saw there, and it was interesting because, like, I looked in the congregation, I'm like, I see dead people. All I can see is dead people. They weren't dead, but their souls were in bondage, and there was no life. Yeah. And I was like, because at first I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, people are sitting in church. They're doing the church thing. It's like not a big deal. But it was traumatizing. I got through it. Yeah. But yeah.
That's very interesting that it had that effect on you. I've been to, like I said, one of my best friends was raised Jehovah's Witness, and she no longer is, but like, so she's my best friend. I would go to like a funerals, with her. Yeah. And so they show videos and stuff, and I was like, this is interesting. It's very different. I was raised Catholic. So, very different. I don't go to church at all right now, but I'm a believer in God, of course. And, but yeah, organized religion, not so much for me, but
I mean, just to be honest with you, like, Jesus, I've come to a point in my life where I found Jesus.
Yeah.
And so, I have roots in the ground now based on him, but not a religion.
Right. So was the cult not Christian?
we called ourselves spiritual Jews. So we didn't have Halloween. We didn't have, which, I mean, Halloween, I don't know how you get around that one, but I didn't have, we had our own holidays, no Christmas, no, nothing like that.
Right.
So
Like like Jewish. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All the health laws.
Jehovah's Witness too. They don't do
stuff.
holidays, do they? Jehovah's Witness.
Oh yeah, they don't either. So I was the kid in school in the library, so that was, like, I was raised, you're different. You're not like which I really was. I was, I was different.
Were you envious of other kids that did Christmas, or were you feeling sorry for them that they were doing something so sinful?
I think in the back of my mind, like, I was like, oh, well, that looks like fun.
Yeah.
But like,
Presents.
but my heart, when I was like young like that, I had such a pure little good heart. Like, I just wanted to please God so much that like, I wouldn't wanted to have thought that. Now, my brother, on the other hand, he was like rebellious. He just did whatever he wanted to do. He wasn't like that. And then I envied him later on, like, you're having more fun than I am.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So
he just didn't get like the fear programming. Is that what you think? That's interesting. That because you were both in the same family, all the same experiences.
Exactly.
And that's what I tell people too about things like trauma. And I think it's safe to say that growing up in a cult would be traumatic, because programming of fear is traumatizing, right? Because you were afraid. Like, I mean, it was traumatic, obviously, because you had a PTSD experience. Once you're out of it, like, you might not have felt like you were being traumatized in the moment. But yeah, so any kind of trauma, that's a perfect example of what I always tell clients or anyone who will listen is traumas are so many different things. And two people can experience the exact same thing.
Yes.
But one person, it's can have a completely different experience, because it's not the incident or the event. It's more about the meaning you attach to the event. So that's why it's so individualized. Is, one person could witness a murder and another person there, but they have completely different experiences and meanings they attach to it. And one person could be, just like messed up for life. I don't want to say destroyed,
exactly.
but, imbalanced for life over that. And the other person never thinks about it again,
Mm-hmm.
So it's just an interesting thing.
So one of the things I have to tell you though, so the church fell apart.
Okay.
So the main guy died, another guy came in, and he started letting us read books like Road Less Traveled, like getting them from like reading and listening to other things. Well, that was like a can of worms he just opened up, because people were like began to change and began to grow, and so people began to leave the church. And so I was one of the last. Like, my family was leaving because they were like, wait a minute, this is all bullcrap. Like, this is like so wrong. Like, they've stolen stolen our money. This is not right.
Right.
But I was the last one. I'm like, no, you can't leave. This is like I held to that because it was my safety and security. It was like somebody had was ripping a security blanket from me, because everything was in a box, and everything I didn't have to think for myself. I didn't know anything outside of that box, right? And then I remember, and it was a process, but then I started learning, like, well, that's wrong, and that's wrong, and that's wrong. And my brain literally went, I remember, like, it went out and in, and I was like, wait, whoa. You mean everything I had been told my entire life, you're telling me was a complete lie? I've based everything on this, and it was traumatic. A lie?
That is traumatic.
Are you flipping kidding me? Like, I missed out on all the stuff at school. I missed out on so much of my life. But I mean, I'm happy, I have my children, and there's a lot of good aspects. So my narrative definitely is that I appreciate everything that it taught me. I appreciate that I have my children and my grandchildren. I'm happy with that. But my point is that psychological break in your brain is very interesting. So here's the thing. When we begin to find out that everything we've believed about our government, about the world, about the food industry, about the things we've been giving our children at the doctor's office, when we find out the lies, and that all went back to the money, because it all went back to the money with the church, people need to prepare their minds for that very experience, because you're in, and hopefully they're not on drugs and alcohol and stuff like that, because it is the psychological hit that's going to give people is going to be crazy.
Well, it's cognitive dissonance. Are you familiar with that term, cognitive dissonance? What you're describing is just like exactly what you're saying. So you can't even at first, you broke through it. But at first, when you're hearing something that doesn't match the reality you've been fed, you can't believe it. You're just like, no, that can't be true. That can't be true, because it's not a match. So you're freaking out. Your perception and reality, two different directions. So cognitive dissonance is a real thing. We've been seeing a lot of that going on lately, the past few years. And I think a lot of those things are being exposed. People are starting to realize, everything goes back to the money. They're starting to realize, okay, so these people in power that we look up to, they don't necessarily have our best interest in mind. I forgot the saying.
Back to the children too. It's just the children are there as well. So but we don't, that's just how I think that's what allowed me to go down the rabbit holes. And we went through the lockdown.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I've done this before. Something's not right. I kept saying, something is not right with this. It's not adding up. I don't get it. So I went down a 30-day rabbit hole that I had to just hold my breath and dig in. And I came out of it, and I saw the next set of truths that, my merry little life was, but, that's, I think that going through that with the church kind of allowed me to have the courage it took to go down that narrative.
Right. You're like, this is familiar. Yeah. Been here, been there, done that. It all goes back to fear. It all goes back to fear. And there's no better way to control people than through fear. We saw that happen, and we saw a lot of things, not make sense, and a lot of rules, like, wait a minute, but and there was a lot of things that I saw, like, we weren't allowed to question things. Like,
no, that's the church. That's exactly what the church did.
Especially with science. Like, the whole definition to me of science would be questioning everything, questioning things, that's how you do science.
Right.
That's how you do it. And like, we're supposed to question things. Right. We're supposed to get results, and then question the results even. And then, it's okay to ask questions. When we're told it's not okay, you're blocking my critical thinking, and that makes me feel suspicious that there's something that you're hiding.
Let's ban you off of Facebook, ban you off of Twitter. Taking
away freedoms. Speech. We're not allowed to talk anymore about our thoughts. Like, there's something, even if it's just a discussion, like, that scared me. Like, what's going on here? Like, if you want me to trust what you're trying to convince me of, I need full transparency.
Yes, exactly.
That's how you earn my trust, so don't tell me, we're getting on another subject. Wow. What am I going to call this one? Cult / menopause
Girls, we're just having tea together.
We're having tea time. Like my friend Jackie, my other friend Jackie got me this. This says Mary Beth on the front here. Can you see it?
Cute. Yeah.
The back is the beautiful part. I mostly peace, love, light, and a little go F yourself. Perfect for me, because that's kind of, I mean, I'm a little sassy sometimes, a little sassy.
And, it's created within me here. I was this compliant little, yes, okay, yeah. I'll do anything you tell me to do. Oh, no. You can ask me to do anything, but you don't tell me to do anything. Like, that's my attitude,
So you went the other extreme.
I'm the other extreme. Like, I have my feminine side, like, with I'm very feminine.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not wake up the mother bear inside.
It's like a defense mechanism. It reminds me
of the rights of the people, for the rights of the children, for humanity.
Yes. Yeah. You're going to, mother bear will come out. I get you.
Yeah. Like, no. Mm-mm.
It reminds me of I used to be in codependent type relationships and stuff. And because I was a people pleaser. And so I would try to, it was just, my nature to avoid conflict. I wanted everyone to get along. I still do. I still don't like conflict, but now I realize the damage that causes when you don't stand up for yourself. And in addition to damage that it's causing is, basically not standing up for yourself. You're not being your true authentic self, you guys. Like when you're not speaking your truth, and you're just saying something so the other person likes you or so that you don't get in an argument, but that's not what you're really thinking or feeling. That's a form of dishonesty, actually. When you're being a people pleaser, you're not being yourself. And so I learned to never do that again. Like I stand up for myself, but like you, I went to this other extreme where instead of healthy boundaries, I was building walls. Like no, if I saw just a little red flag of someone being a little bit controlling, because I'd been in those controlling type relationships, I would, freak out and run and, kind of got just one extreme to another. And now I've got, healthy boundaries, not walls, communicate, be honest communication, but it doesn't need to be so extreme to where I don't let anybody in because I'm afraid of being controlled again, because I trust my discernment now. I trust my intuition. But that was an interesting thing, because I did go from completely one way of being so passive. And now I'm assertive, I'm going to assert myself when necessary, I'm going to be direct. But I've learned to have a better delivery around that,
Well, one of the things is, so when I came out of the cult, like I didn't have an original thought of my own. Wow. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to think about things. So when I finally got out, I was like a kid in a candy shop, like, oh, this looks so much fun everywhere. But anyway, I had no boundaries because I didn't know who I was. And so that took some time to figure out, who is Jackie? What are things that are important to her? And that took a little while. Now I have my own original thinking, but you can't put boundaries up. I guess you could, but boundaries are more powerful when you know who you are.
Absolutely. Well, how do you know what boundaries to create until if you weren't sure of your identity yet? Like, I can't even imagine this, Jackie. I can't imagine growing up that way. I had a lot of freedom. Some might argue too much freedom. I kind of did pretty much. I was on my own a lot, even as a young child in my neighborhood and stuff. We were just out and about, and then we came home when we came home, and a lot of freedom. And as a teenager, a lot of freedom. I kind of just did what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And maybe that's when I started drinking and stuff too. I needed a little bit more guidance and a little bit more boundaries, it's left to my own accord a little bit too much. So I'm the other extreme as you.
You had more fun than I did, no, but actually, but it's okay. I mean, it's, you learned the skills that you needed to learn. Like
We learn one
no
way or
social
another.
skills.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. We're
And
going to learn.
I still don't have a good social skills, but
Yes,
I
you
just,
do.
but no, I just be me. And then, then everybody has to figure it out around me. But I really like who I am now.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it's
wonderful. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine being 28 and realizing that, like, oh my gosh, everything that I thought was true was just brainwashing. Can I call it brainwashing? I mean,
yes.
I feel like, or mass hypnosis, or, there's a term that I always think of, or a phrase, when with cults, is drinking the Kool-Aid. Does that offend you? Did you drink the Kool-Aid? I was wondering if that'd be offensive to say or not. You drank what'd you say?
Drank the whole pitcher.
The pitcher on a daily basis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a fair phrase.
Happily, but it worked for me. Like it wasn't that it didn't work for me. It worked beautifully for me. Like I was happy in that. So I thought, there was safety and security in that. So,
well, they say ignorance is bliss, right? I mean, so you were happy until you knew better.
And right, until I knew better. Yes. And also though, I did deal with a lot. I mean, I was depressed during that time too. There wasn't, it wasn't like I had my peace and joy, but, then I went on, I was probably in my 40s, early 40s. Anyway, I found out from Joe Dispenza that our brain has plasticity. Yes. And then I watched What the Bleep. And I'm like, wait a minute, like I can change my brain? Like that was like a revelation to me. Like, oh, I can control like how I live my day and be happy or sad, or like I can
manage my emotions. My thoughts don't control me. What?
Control me? Like what? Yeah. So then I went on that kind of journey too, where, I started working on my mindset, and I've always had a growth mindset. So that helped.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so important. With neuroplasticity, for anyone watching, that is, we can change our mind. And that's what obviously being a coach, we know this, and we try to help people understand that, right? We need people to understand, like, you are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness behind your thoughts. You can observe your thoughts, you can manage your thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. So, and most people think the same repetitive thoughts, day in and day out. And a lot of those thoughts are negative. The majority of those thoughts are negative. So that's what we need to, that's what coaching is all about, mindset, and replacing those thoughts. Because if you don't change your thoughts, how are you going to change your life?
Right. And then,
nothing's going to change.
Nothing. And then also, like, so being raised in a cult, like I have to think even now, like if I think something, where did that thought come from? Did that come from the church? Did that come from a relationship? Like who gave me that story that I have?
That's awesome. You analyze it. You have to analyze it.
Yeah. Like, is it serving me? Is it not serving me? Oh, well, that's not serving me. So you know what? I'm going to create a new story.
Right.
And I just create a new story, create a new narrative. And then I live my life out of that new narrative.
Wonderful. Yeah. Because they say, you always hear like spiritual speakers and in books, to witness your thoughts. But I think we got to go a little further. Like you're saying, like really analyzing them, bringing them to your consciousness. Like, where did that come from? Where did that originate? So we can heal them. Because, I just did a video on being triggered the other day. Like when we're triggered by somebody or something that someone said, when we have these knee-jerk reactions, that is guidance. Use it as guidance to where you need to be healed. Like, don't beat yourself up when because I have bad reactions, sometimes, like, especially Facebook, I think gets everybody. But take time, analyze why you're feeling just negative emotions, why something was a trigger for this negative reaction. Don't respond right away. try to really figure that out, get to the bottom of it, because it's subconscious, and the way we heal is making those subconscious, ideas and thoughts, bringing them to your conscious awareness. It's all about awareness. We cannot fix something that we suppress. That's why it's the good vibes only people really piss me off, because number one, that's not realistic. That's called denial and suppression. And then if you tell people good vibes only, don't talk to me, good vibes only, you're bringing me down. Like, can you imagine me being that way as a coach, not talking to anyone just because, that's not what it's about. We're supposed to use our emotions as guidance.
Yes.
As guidance. And then, and don't tell people that it's bad to feel bad, because everybody feels bad. And if you say you don't sometimes, now and then, we all dip down on that vibrational emotional scale. We all dip down and use it as guidance. Like, okay, what do I need to do? What steps should I take to bring myself back up? It is important to feel good, but beating yourself up over not feeling good, that doesn't work either. No.
It's interesting. So today I was having a conversation with my son and his wife, and I'm not going to tell you the story.
Okay.
But something came up in the conversation, and I'm like, wait a minute. I told him, I'm like, I'm still pissed off about that this day. I haven't thought about that in 35 years. I'm like, it's like in my body. Like, I'm still kind of like about that.
So it was a trigger?
Well, no, I wasn't triggered. It was just this 35-year circumstance that came up that we were discussing. And so, and it didn't throw me into dysfunction or anything like that. But when I got in the car, I'm like, wow, I need to forgive these people. And I need to transform that like right now out of my body. So I prayed about it, because, that's something that I do. So I prayed about it and asked God to help me to forgive them and to forgive me for, holding on to it for all these years. And I didn't even know it, but it was in my body. Isn't that interesting?
Well, and you're 100% correct. It is in our body. And that's what's so important. And that is, not to get too weird on people, but dis-ease, a lot of that starts with our mind. I bring up Louise Hay all the time. Louise Hay, Heal Your Body. Are you familiar with her at all?
Years ago, but I don't.
Yeah. So, but she healed herself of cancer, and found there's always a spiritual reason for disease, and we can make ourselves sick, but the good news is that we also can heal ourselves as well. And, it's just, it all starts with our, like the mind, spirit, body, there is a connection. And it's so important to know that, and I'm not saying, oh, if you're sick, you made yourself sick. I'm not saying that.
Right. Exactly.
But there are things you could do to heal yourself, make yourself better. People have done it. Joe Dispenza goes around the world right now, who you're talking about, and miracles happen every day. He even talks about, of course, cancer, but people walking again, and people who were blind and they're able to see, like horrible things. They've been to every doctor in the world, and they were like, they're a lost cause. But it turns out, like, working with their mind, doing all those meditations and healing those unhealed parts of them that were unconscious and they didn't even realize were there. It's amazing. It's amazing what our minds are capable of. And I think it's going to be so wonderful once people really are on board with that, because how much power that we have. And it's because, in my opinion, we're connected to God, and we just forgot about our connection. We disconnect ourselves, but we are all, that's my belief. My personal belief is that we are all connected to God. And when we disconnect ourselves, and that's kind of when we feel like we're in darkness, is when we've done that to ourselves, and we can reconnect ourselves anytime we want.
Yes.
So yeah, Louise Hay, that's a good one. I should probably put that. She has a book called Heal Your Body, and it's wonderful. She healed herself of cancer. Oh, look, TJ's popping in.
Aww.
He's been here the whole time, but yeah. He's making a little appearance. So just to circle back to when you were 28 and you got out, like, so you were the last one, you said, of your entire family and friends, you were trying to get everybody to stay and they were dropping out one by one. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
And then, so you were married already before 28 and then, and then you got divorced after you were out. You think leaving the cult had anything to do with that? Like maybe opening up your mind? Is that?
No, I lost my mind for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost it. So that's the path I chose to go down. And so I made up for any lost time, that in my teenage years. So
yes, that is so common.
No saint.
So common. Yeah. Well, no, and once, I can't name names, but yeah, I know people who were in not that, but different religions and that were similar, and same thing. Once they realized they were just simply in a program of fear and being brainwashed, they went nuts. So kind of like people do after they get divorced.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Just everything looks so shiny and bright.
Yeah.
What I realize is that's not so shiny. So the one thing about we are given certain laws in the Bible kind of to follow. And there's a lot of wisdom in that. Yes. So following those laws can some of them can or following them can keep us out of a lot of heartache. So I chose to go and learn everything the hardest possible way I could figure out and make every mistake that I could possibly make.
I did too, and that's why we're coaches.
But you know what? Exactly. That's exactly
why you learn. Well, it's the hard way.
But yes, I chose the hard way, and that's okay because in the end, I'm so grateful every day. I'm so grateful for the life I have and just my mind. I mean, I'm so thankful for my mind. I'm so thankful for my health. That I had the wisdom a long time ago to begin to take care of my health. And that was part of the church too. Like we didn't have I don't even know if my mom had insurance. We probably didn't. But, my mom took us to iridologists and we used herbs and things to heal ourselves all my life. Yeah. And then,
like Christian Science a little bit, or
probably. Yeah. I don't know anything about that, but so I remember one time I got a boil behind my ear and my mom called an Amish doctor or whatever. He's like, lance it and then put wool and something else and a certain oil and like it totally worked. And like just all kinds of things like that. And an iridologist literally saved my brother's life. Because he saw staph infection in his body that the doctors weren't picking up on.
You're saying like Ayurvedic medicine?
Iridology, where they literally like look in your iris and they can see your health through your eye.
I don't know about this. Oh, wow.
It's fascinating.
Wow. I need to look into that.
But anyway, those were our doctors. That's how we didn't go to a doctor. We never ever really ever got sick. So, but my mom had us on a really good diet and she was always studying about health and things like that. So, I came by that pretty naturally. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, no, I love that you had all those natural remedies, and because like I didn't, and then now I found them all. But yeah, like that would have been great having grown up with that kind of knowledge and about diet and supplements and stuff. And it's also important to note that, like, to bring up your teas again, and you said you didn't really want to pay for all of that, let alone it's also bad to take too many supplements. Some people do overdo it, and then that's not good for the liver either. Like, we got to be careful how many supplements we're taking. And a lot of these, from where I see it, like sometimes I'll have a client who will be like proud to be on all these bodybuilding supplements, and a lot of that has some bad chemicals and it's very toxic and really bad for your liver. And in their mind, they think they're doing something good for themselves because it's marketing. It's marketed that way. You know what I mean? A lot of us are victims of marketing, and it goes back again to money. And real quick, so your cult, the basis of it was just money, like, and power, I'm sure, but they were like, did you guys have to give the church a lot of money? Is that
Well, 10% of our gross income.
10%?
10%, and every third
Wow.
year we gave another 10% to the widows, but they probably never got hardly any of that. I don't know that, but
Yeah.
and then we did another 10% where we went to what's called the Feast of Tabernacles. So we would take our money and then we would go to church every day, but we got to go to these really fun places. And at the end, if you made a lot of money, if you made 10,000 or 100,000, it's $10,000 you got to spend in a week. So, but if you, at the end, if you didn't spend all that money, you had to give it back to the church at the end. So the goal is like, how could you spend all your money during that week, but it was like feast or famine. And I don't know, but I have a lot of good memories.
Wild.
Yeah. Of our, there was tradition there that I don't have now.
Yeah.
I could care less about Christmas. I have no connection to Easter. I got, it just, I don't know. But so I carry that with me, and I just, we'll see what happens, but I still don't, I have no tradition around it. It doesn't mean a whole lot to me.
Right. That would be interesting. It just wasn't part of your path. So what would you say, was something, let's go with the worst thing and the best thing that came out of it, whichever one you want to do first. What was the worst thing that came out of being in the cult and the best thing? Or you could say the best thing and the worst thing, however order you want to do it.
Questions. Let's see. The worst thing is that I pretty much lost my normal childhood.
Yeah.
But in, the school activities and things like that. But at the same, I wasn't raised on Disney shows. I wasn't raised on Saturday morning cartoons, all that normal stuff. But then it also kind of left me kind of pure of heart a little bit, because I wasn't being programmed with, the after school. We did watch TV after school.
Yeah.
And I was not allowed to watch MTV, but my brother did, but I didn't because I wanted to be good. Terry, right? But like a lot of the commercials that were, just brainwashing tools for the children, and so I guess, but I appreciate life so much more now. The Sabbath was really good. I had a sense of community because, you
that's what I was going to say. I do love that about church in general, the community that you don't get anywhere else. Of course, that's, do you have any friendships still from back then? Of course your family, but
a few, a few, but they're online on Facebook, things like that. We know who we are. We were all teenagers together.
Right. So you kind of bonded over that.
Yeah, but no one I'm really, really close to per se.
Right. So that's very interesting. So, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up, or, because I love that you're doing this and helping other people who might be in a situation. I don't know if you've been following the Scientology stuff, but okay. So Scientology was exposed for all of this stuff. Leah Remini. Oh yeah. For being, they do all this. Yeah. You might want to look at, there's some really good, is it Amazon? I think it might be Amazon Prime video. Amazon. Do you have Amazon? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's something to do with Scientology, but Leah Remini there's documentaries because she was raised in Scientology, or she might have, she was pretty young, but she discusses all of this and all of the programming that goes behind it. And it's pretty amazing when you start so young and you don't know anything else other than that. How do you even know, and there was that sense that she said with her, like, where, she kind of thought, she's up here and other people are, people who weren't part of it. They were the ones that she felt sorry for them, right?
Yes. Yes.
A lot of shady stuff going on behind the scenes there, and it's all kept,
Mhm.
and then something else that you said that made me think of a similarity would be they weren't allowed on the internet or to read other books, and they weren't allowed. It's just that's part of what's really important. You guys, if you're in any kind of manipulative situation, even if it's simply a relationship, with your partner,
Mhm.
and you're not allowed, to do certain things, like,
Right.
why is that? Because really, you should want your partner to have freedom and choose you. You don't want your partner to be with you because, of threats, or, they're afraid not to be with you. Like, I certainly wouldn't want someone to be with me for any reason other than they were in love with me,
Right.
not scared of me.
Well, but there's a psychological part of separating you from other people.
Yeah, the isolation, absolutely. And that's what the Scientology thing did too. And when you said that about not even being allowed to open your mind through other books until you that second, were they called pastor or ministers? What were they called?
Ministers.
Minister, till the second one stepped in, and then you're allowed to read The Road Less Traveled, and just other books to help open, outside of the tunnel vision that you were given, right? Like,
Mhm.
that's just so interesting. And it's sad, because those are just manipulation strategies that to keep you like a horse with blinders on.
Yep.
Another
Well,
horse reference.
right. But what we have to, this is relevant to our day right now,
Mhm.
because when the blinders come off to people, they're going to experience what I experience. It's all the
Cognitive
same.
dissonance. Yeah.
And so, and this isolation. So they've been busy dividing us all,
Mhm.
and they're continuing to divide us,
Right.
divide families. Like, look what they're doing. Like, if you want to know what a cult looks like,
Yeah.
look at your government. Look at what's happening. Like, but this is outside of the government now. This is like worldwide.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's the tribalism that they're right. And hello, united we stand, divided we fall. It's great to divide us. It's more power
they're
for them.
dividing us like
Right.
crazy.
Absolutely. And then all this stuff can be done when we're busy fighting with each other. All the stuff can be done,
But what they were
behind
really
the scenes when we're because we're too busy arguing about shit that doesn't matter.
right, right. And we've been but they've also been in our school system. They've been teaching our children about overpopulate population, and then teaching our children about all kinds of stuff. So, there's another indoctrination about that. So it's just
Oh yeah.
it's just all around us.
In general too.
So
I talked about this in another video, but the stuff that our educational program and
yep.
systems needs to be totally destroyed and started over, because we aren't learning things that are really helpful to life. We're learning things that don't matter in history, that's not even true, and biased. And then it's just so important. Like, why don't we have a meditation class? Why don't we have, classes that teach us how to do life? Like, planting stuff. I don't know how to
Yes.
plant stuff to this
Yes.
day, but I know how to do like algebra pretty well. And, like things that I don't ever use on a daily
Right.
basis. Like,
Yeah.
let's teach, yoga and things that help with anxiety, things that help mind, body.
Yes.
Right. And I just see a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter anymore, especially in the math arena. Like, it's great to know math if you want to learn more math, but that saying like, oh, well, you're not going to have a calculator everywhere you go. Yeah, we do. We have calculator everywhere we go. It's on our phones. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
I just think we need to tweak things a little bit and really focus on what matters. What's going to be helpful for our children to, be more creative. I want to see some more creative things,
Sure.
yeah, help them, critical thinking classes. Why don't we have?
So, it caused me to put my children in Montessori school when they were little. Like, I'm like, you're not, no, don't. So I wanted I knew enough to know that I wanted my children, to be able to think out of the box.
That's good. Yeah. Well, that's surprising too. That's great that you were able to.
But because of that experience, I don't know that I would have done it had I not had the experience with the cult.
Okay.
Out of the cult.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Montessori school, they do delve into all those things.
Creativity.
You got to pay
imagination
extra, right? For a Montessori school.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And like a Goddard school, same thing. They're available. It's just not cheap.
Goddard's totally different. Goddard is more rope learning. Montessori is totally.
What's rope learning?
It's rope learning. Like it's your traditional learning.
Oh, it is.
This goes here, that goes there. Or Montessori is, what are the children excited about that day? They get to gravitate towards the different activities.
Oh.
Sand writing, and these children are learning to read at 3 years old. It's a whole different mindset.
Yeah, Spencer just went to public schools. He didn't do anything special for him, but he turned out okay.
Yeah.
He turned out all right. Well, you guys, I wanted to remind you that to look in the link underneath this video for this one's really sassy and slim. I'm gonna have to say this one's my favorite, just because who doesn't want to be sassy and slim, right? I'm going to put a link under the video so you could find Jackie's teas that she sells here. And she's in Cincinnati here. I just met her. In
Dayton.
But Dayton. Yeah, Dayton. So a little bit north, but I just met her to grab my tea in person, but she will ship it directly to you if you're interested. And I highly recommend them. And thank you so much for telling your story. I'm sure it will help other people, especially if, a lot of people who are in a manipulative relationship, or situation might not even realize it. Cause like you didn't realize it for so long. It's just all you knew. So the isolation is really important. I want to bring that up. They isolate you so that you can only know their thoughts and their ideas and, kind of, and that happened to me before too, just a relationship where I wasn't allowed to hang out with certain people or even my family. And I knew right away something was wrong because I'd only had healthy relationships before that. But I can't imagine being like 3 years old and not knowing anything else. Like I wouldn't have been so smart to get out of it quickly,
Well, I wasn't. I was going to go to my grave in it, but
that's because you were indoctrinated. You were in it so young.
I was willing to die for it, but it was only when the church itself and the people in the church, there was a breakdown in the church that opened that door.
Right.
It never would have happened. Not in a million years.
You would have just stayed. So I hope this helps somebody watching out there. And, remember to share this if you know anyone who might be in a similar situation, and maybe it will help kind of give them a little nudge. I think at first if somebody's so programmed or brainwashed or under control through fear, they're probably not going to hear this the first time. They're not going to hear it, but it'll plant a seed. We'll plant a seed. And that's what I hope. I hope that someone could, recognize it maybe and just kind of start maybe just thinking in that direction, at least, if nothing else.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
This was wonderful. I appreciate it so much.
All right. Well, it was great talking to you.